Hello, good day, and welcome to the Community for Open Innovation and Collaboration, the Eclipse Foundation Day at Cloud Native 2021. Today, one thing we promise is that we will be having fighting talks, a very interesting demos and provoking sessions, which will be focused on various enterprise applications implementing using Eclipse Foundation projects and Kubernetes. The Eclipse Cloud Development Tools, Jakarta EE, Microprofile, and Edge Native communities are all going to be present today. CM4CF Day is a co-located with Coupon Cloud Native North America 2021. My name is Hassan Jaber, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager for IoT and Edge Working Group at the Eclipse Foundation. Today, there's a lineup of speakers, and I'm glad to introduce to you Brian King. Brian is the Community Manager for Cloud DevTools at the Eclipse Foundation. He's responsible for driving community growth, adoption, and evolution around open source cloud-based development tools, including Eclipse Share and Eclipse Thea at a worldwide level. Working closely with members and developers from Red Hat, IBM, Intel, SAP, and other industry giants, Brian leads strategic planning, organizational decision-making, and new project execution for one of the industry's fastest growing working groups. Before joining Eclipse, Brian led communities thousands strong at TopTal and co-built the Mozilla Reps program with Mozilla Corporation. Brian, welcome to CM4EF Day, and the floor is yours.
Great, fantastic. Thank you very much, Hassan, for that intro. Yes, welcome to you all. As part of KubeCon and Cloud NativeCon North America, we are pleased to bring you another acronym, CN4EF, which stands for Cloud Native for Eclipse Foundation Day. And this is a full day of expert talks, demos, and thought-provoking sessions focused on enterprise applications implemented using Eclipse Foundation projects on Kubernetes, from the cloud all the way to the edge. So delighted to have you here, and here is the agenda for today. I'm really excited about these talks. After I speak, we'll go straight into a panel, and our expert panel today is going to talk about what is EdgeOps and why should you care. And we have Luca Cominarati from AdLink, we have Kilton Hopkins from EdgeWorks, and we have our very own Frédéric Desbiens from Eclipse Foundation. After that, take your microservices to the next level with Haliden and Verazano. Dmitry Alexandrov and David Kavalus from Oracle will be speaking on that one. And then we'll be moving into a live coding session with Emily Yang from IBM. She'll be showing us some cloud native application development with Microprofile and Open Liberty. And we hope you stick around with us in the afternoon as well. And because after the break, we've got a few more exciting talks. We have how to improve the Kubernetes experience with Papyrus Cloud and Ruby Debuscher from Payara is going to present that one. Coming up after that, we have running the Jakarta EE applications like Cargo Tracker inside Kubernetes with nested container architecture. Tatiana Fyodenchek from Yelestic will be presenting that. And do we really need Kubernetes on the edge? I suspect you can guess the answer by now, and Frederic is going to be presenting that. We'll have a wrap-up session with, and we'll take your questions at that time. So please feel free to participate throughout the day. There is an Ask a Question link at the end. So at any time during the sessions, please do click on that, throw your question in there, and feel free to socialize with other attendees in the chat. So happy to have you. I should say upfront as I speak that my dog is beside me here. little poodle, and he does have a tendency to bark at silly things. So I apologize in advance. If someone has invented a mute dog button, please let me know. It's much needed in situations like this. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about open source, and I think what I'm going to present in the next couple of slides is not really going to be surprising to anybody here. Open source participation is surging. Open source is winning or has won, depending on what perspective you look at it. But of course, there's always work to be done, and there's always great projects to collaborate on. And here are just some numbers that are actually, a few years old. And this was according to a Forrester Wave a survey on the composition and report composition analysis of open source. And 80 to 90% of applications running out there today are made up of open source code. I suspect this number of GitHub hosts and number of GitHub repositories is probably much larger than this. This figure is a couple of years old, and same with the number of GitHub users. But the important thing to stress here is that whether you're a company large or small, whether you're a hobby software developer, participation is really surging. Everybody wants in to open source, and it's really the quickest and most feasible way to kind of bootstrap any project and any business that you have, any software business that you have nowadays. Moving on to some further numbers, and these are from a to-do survey from last year. To-do group survey from last year, 81% of companies are consuming open source products or services, and a huge 44% are contributing upstream, contributing back to open source projects, and this is a crucial loop. The fact that open source is out there and we're able to use it, and as I said, you can bootstrap your business, or even large enterprises can integrate it into their products and build new products on top of it. Very, very important to get as many contributing back as well to these projects. They don't exist in a vacuum. It requires a lot of hard work and collaboration, and that's something we try to facilitate at the Eclipse Foundation. And of this survey last year, 100% reported productivity improvements by contributing to open source. I think there's probably various different reasons for that. I think it increases morale of development team if they're working in the open. They're able to get good feedback from their work. They're able to contribute their changes upstream and see their work make a real impact. And just all around, I think it's a positive experience for individual developers and for company developers participating in open source. So, what about the Eclipse Foundation? What do we do? So, Eclipse Foundation has been around for around 17 years, give or take a few months here or there. And during that time, we've provided our global community of developers and organizations with a mature and a scalable, business-friendly platform and environment for collaboration and innovation. And I'll define what that means in a moment. We provide community-driven governance, processes, and infrastructure that fuel the commercial success of our members. By the numbers, Eclipse Foundation. Many of you might know us for the Eclipse IDE, which is one of our longest projects, and millions of developers around the world still rely on. However, Eclipse Foundation is much more than that. Currently, we have 400 plus open source projects under our umbrella. We have over 330 members. These are organizations, large and small. The lifeblood, of course, of open source is contributors and committers, of which we have 1,700 plus. Hundreds of millions of lines of code, and 18 working groups. Working groups are the main structure with which we provide organizations for, with collaboration opportunities, and I'll talk about them momentarily. So, those 400 plus projects can largely be grouped into these 4 strategic areas, although this is by no means the full list. So cloud native Java, of course, is huge, and you'll be hearing a lot about that today. IoT and Edge, you'll also be hearing a lot about today. For automotive, we provide leading automotive OEMs, their suppliers and partners with a sustainable, transparent, vendor-neutral platform to collaborate on open technologies and standards. Obviously, autonomous vehicles are becoming more and more important. And of course, tools. Tools are very much our heritage at the Eclipse Foundation. And as Hassan said, in the introduction, I'm overseeing our community there as it moves into the cloud, with cloud native tools such as Eclipse Che and Thea, and the Open VSX, which is the Open VS Code marketplace that we are building. So they're the 4 major categories with which we organize ourselves, and which a lot of the activity happens at the Eclipse Foundation. And here's just like a small snapshot of some of our projects that are focused on cloud native. So Jakarta EE, of course, cloud native Java for enterprise, beyond Java EE. OpenJ9 is optimized to run Java applications cost effectively in the cloud. OpenJ9, the fast and effective JVM that delivers power and performance. And IOFog, I want to say a few words about that. It's creating a distributed edge compute network, enabling you to run any microservice on it dynamically, securely, and remotely. One's closest to my heart, of course, are Eclipse Thea, which is a platform for building developer IDEs, integrated development environments, and Eclipse Che, which is, well, I like to describe it as the kitchen sink. It's a Kubernetes workspace management environment with code editors, CLIs, and the whole works thrown in. So it's a really, really powerful and effective tool. And these are just some of our growing community of members. And I'll explain why our members are continuing, why new members are continuing to join the Eclipse Foundation. And what does open source innovation mean, and how do you do it at scale? And this visualization here, I think, is a good representation of it, really. Obviously, it's a very simplified, right? So there's above and below the value line. But what we provide at the Eclipse Foundation is we provide the governance, and we provide the collaboration structures and infrastructure. And then our members and other organizations that use our projects, they build above that value line, right? So they put their competitive innovations and advantages on top of that. And what the items basically below the value line mean is that they can scale quickly, of course, and use the latest industry technologies in their products and services. So as I said, good visualization, put it simply, but I think it sums it up really well. This is really how you do open innovation at scale. Okay, so I'm circling back to our working group model, and think of working groups as kind of places where our members can gather and work on new projects and new innovations. They can work with existing projects, and it provides all the infrastructure for doing that. Eclipse Foundation, it benefits companies of all sizes across multiple industries. Over the last 15 years, we've earned our business-friendly reputation by providing a home for community-driven open source projects to deliver high-quality, scalable, and sustainable technologies that enterprises can use to build their commercial products, grow revenues, and drive market adoption. And then the business value can be reinvested into Eclipse projects and our developer community. Key to this approach is our working groups, and they provide an open and vendor-neutral, and I stress vendor-neutral, governance framework for individuals and organizations to engage in collaborative development. Membership in the Eclipse Foundation and our working groups is an investment to ensure that the critical technologies that you and your customers rely on will not only survive, but thrive and keep up with evolving use cases, requirements, and commercial opportunities. So, I think these points here define the purpose of working groups and their value. Open and vendor neutral governance framework. I think when you're looking at open source governance in general, you look around at a lot of large and small open source projects, and they might be tied into, for example, one vendor who's driving a lot of the development and who controls a lot of the decisions based around that project. But our framework really guarantees that that doesn't happen, and that all decisions are made in a very transparent way, and that all community has a say in it. Working groups, they extend the best practices of the Eclipse Foundation's collaborative open source development model, which has been around for many years, to specific technology domains. Working groups, they enable collaboration on business functions important to the broader open source initiative, including the shared development of requirements, specifications, marketing strategy, and security policies. So it's a holistic approach to running open source projects and communities and how to collaborate around them. It's not just about the source code. And these unique industry collaborations, they span a variety of innovation areas, as I mentioned earlier, including cloud native enterprise Java, IoT, edge computing, and the connected automotive mobility ecosystem, and other emerging technology domains, such as AI, for example. Now, these are our current Eclipse Foundation working groups. So we are 18 and counting. And our working groups, they provide a licensing model for shared co-development innovation, IP management to maximize your commercialization opportunities. So, when you come in and you work with us and you work with our projects, you don't have to worry about IP of the projects. That's already taken care of. And any new software that's integrated in, we have a well-defined process for triaging that as well. We have a project model for coordinating investment and activities, and a governance model to ensure a level playing field for all participants. So essentially what our working groups do is it gives you all of these out of the box, essentially. And for today, for Cloud Native, for Eclipse Foundation Day, these working groups are sponsoring the events. And you'll be hearing from community members, organizations from these working groups today. Jakarta EE, Eclipse Cloud DevTools, Edge Native, and MicroProfile. I just wanted to say a few words about each of them and what they are. So the Jakarta EE working group, it seeks to drive cloud native mission critical applications and build upon the decades of Java EE experience of real world deployments and development. It's got quite a few members in the Jakarta EE working group, and you see some of them on your screen there right now, from organizations large and small. So the mission of the Cloud DevTools Working Group is to define and build an ecosystem of best-in-class open source web and cloud-based development tools, and to promote and drive broad adoption of the tools. So, you know, I think open source software, as you know, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Something that open source wasn't great at for a long time was marketing, you know, and bringing new users to your software and new adopters of your software. And that's something we really focus on here at Eclipse. If you have great software and no one uses, well then that's not great, right? It's not a great experience for you as a developer. So here are some of our projects. I mentioned Che and Thea, but other projects such as JCube, which is a Maven deployment tool. We have GLSP, which is for diagramming on the web, which complements EMF Cloud, and Eclipse Dirigible, which is a no-code / low-code development environment. The Edge Native Working Group, it drives the evolution and broad adoption of edge computing related technologies. And some of the projects include IOFog, Fog5, and Xenon. You'll hear about some of them today. The MicroProfile Working Group, it's designed to run enterprise applications with reliability, availability, scalability, and performance. That delivers application portability across multiple MicroProfile runtimes, and it's a natural extension of Java EE developers' existing skill set. So they are the working groups that you'll hear from today. It's not an exclusive list of working groups and projects that are involved in Cloud Native at Eclipse Foundation. I think right across the board, you know, not everything, but almost everything is moving into the cloud, and it needs to be supported in that environment. You can discover a lot more about us and what we do at eclipse.org. So I would encourage you to browse our site, find out more about our projects, find out more about our working groups. If you want to go further, if you want to take the leap, please become an Eclipse Foundation member. If there's a particular technology that you're working with or you're thinking of working with, and you want to be involved in its evolution, please join a working group, collaborate with other companies. And on an individual level, you know, you can just become a committer, a contributor to different projects. So become Eclipse Foundation committer. And any questions, you can divert them to membership at eclipse.org via email. So we'd love to hear from you at any time with your questions and your comments. I just want to circle back to today's agenda. So next up is our panel. I urge you to stick around for that, and of course for the rest of the day. I introduced talks earlier. I think there's something for everybody here. I think you'll find it very interesting. And I wish you a very enjoyable day. And as I said, please participate in the chat with other attendees. Please ask questions at any time, and we will make note of them, and we'll get around to presenting them to our speakers today. So thank you for now.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Brian. Great introduction to the foundation and the working group, various working groups that we have within the foundation. So our next session would be a very interesting panel discussion around what is EdgeOps and why should you even care? It will be led by industry experts, Luca Caminardi from AD-Link, Kilton Hopkins from EdgeWorks, and Frederick Depian from the Eclipse Foundation. So stay tuned. It will be live in the next 3 minutes. Thank you.